Databases are a very fast and efficient way to store a lot of data and retrieve it when you need it. So why do people still use Excel as a database? Well, there are a few reasons. First of all, Excel is very easy to use, and it doesn't require any specialized knowledge. So knowing that, why would anyone use a database? Well, databases are faster, more efficient, and more flexible than Excel. However, you must learn the SQL language to unlock the power of a database. Now, before I start, I have to mention that SQL is not specific to Automation Anywhere, and this knowledge will work with nearly any database. We're covering it here because you will need some basic SQL knowledge to solve some of our developer challenges. Let's talk for a moment about how databases are organized. The database itself is comprised of one or more tables of data. These tables are kind of like Excel worksheets, while the database is like the entire Excel workbook. As in Excel, the data contained in the tables does not need to relate to each other, but it can, and frequently does. Within the tables are columns. These columns have names and data types assigned to them. As data is added to the tables, they're added as rows or records of data. To manipulate data contained in a database, we need to know the SQL language. There are four basic SQL commands: select, insert, update, and delete. The first one, select, is to retrieve data from a table. Second is insert. It adds a record to the table. Third is update, which modifies a record in a table. And finally, fourth is delete, which removes a record from a table. There are more SQL commands than this, but those four comprise most of what you'll do in the SQL language. When business people use SQL, it's typically to retrieve data from a database. So let's focus on the select statement first. Here we have a table of data from a database. The table name is customer info. And you can see the headings along with their data types. These data types may look a little different than what you're expecting with Automation Anywhere variables. Data types like varchar and char are string values, while int, which is integer, and double, which is floating point, are number values. If I wanted to retrieve and work with all of the rows in the table, I could write this one of two ways. By the way, I'm using uppercase for any reserved SQL keywords. Now, both of these statements work, but the first is the preferred method. It's always best to retrieve only the data you need. For example, if I didn't need the email for my report, I could omit the email column from the first select statement. The second one uses a shortcut, asterisk, to select all the columns. In a tiny table like this one, the performance difference is negligible, but in a large enterprise-sized table, it's best not to use the asterisk shortcut. After the from keyword is the table name, which we saw at the top. We can add additional keywords after specifying the table name if we wish to filter the records we wish to retrieve. For example, if we want to retrieve the records where their age is over 30, we'd change the query and make it look like this. We can also stack these filters by adding an and or an or keyword like this. Wildcards for filters in SQL have two parts: the wildcard itself, which is the %sign, and the like keyword. Let's add a different filter based on the email address. Notice a few things. The wildcard position in this case means that we're going to match any email address that ends with yahoo.com. I also must use the like keyword to let the database know that we're using a wildcard. This doesn't work if I used an equal sign. I can even change this more if I wanted to match all the Yahoo email domains like this. The other thing to notice is that I'm using apostrophes, or single quotes, around those string values. If I use double quotes, it means that I'm specifying a table name, so be careful and use the correct quotes. We can also sort our records. Consider these queries. The first one sorts the records by age, starting from lowest to highest. Adding the DESC, or descending, keyword reverses the sort. Now let's put this all together, because the order of the keywords does make a difference. This query is returning age over 30 and email like Yahoo, where it contains the word Yahoo, and sorting the output by the age. Now if, for example, we switch the order of the where and the order by, the SQL query won't work anymore. So order does matter. Now let's talk about modifying the data within the table. Let's start with the insert to add a new record. The query looks like this, and this will add a new record for Micah at the end of the list of records. Depending on how the table was set up, you may or may not need to add all of the columns of data. Any missing columns of data would be treated as null, which just means that there is no value set in that column. Next, we can modify a record using the update command. This will update the record, whose name is Micah Smith, to an age of 35. Now be careful, because if you have more than one record matching your where clause, this command will update all of them. Even worse, if you forget to use the where clause at all of the records will be updated. One trick to avoid that kind of problem is to perform a select query with the same where clause and verify all of the records that will be updated. Finally, let's remove a record using the delete command. The same warning for the update pertains to the delete. If you have more than one record that matches the where clause, all of those records will be deleted. If you forget your where clause, all of your records will be deleted. So what did we learn? Each table contains one or many columns, each having a name and a data type. The varchar and char data types are string values, and the int or doubled data types are numeric values. The select command retrieves records from a table. Using Automation Anywhere's loop action, you can then go through each row of data returned. Adding a where clause restricts the records to the ones that matches our query. Where clauses are very important for delete and update SQL commands. The order by keyword works to sort records retrieved from the database and must be placed after the where clause, if there is one. Insert adds one record to a table. You must add all of the columns of data unless the table was created with the ability to skip one or more of those columns. Any skipped columns will contain a null value, which means the column was skipped and there's no value stored there. I hope this gets you started with SQL. Thanks for watching, and go be great.